Hello everybody, welcome to Coco's Crochet. I'm Litsa and today we're going to reveal the winner of our vote for our hashtag Crochet Through the Decades Cal 2024 for our 1960s entries. We'll talk a little bit about the inspiration, what's coming up for the 1970s, and of course I'll show you each and every entry, so we'll match the name to the number, which is going to be wonderful. And at the end of it, I have tallied up all the votes and I will give you the winner for the 1960s. Now, for those of you that may have just joined us for the very first time, welcome. I'm going to give you a little run through of what this cal is all about. So basically, as of last month, so August, no, I beg your pardon, we're in October. So 2 months ago, August, we started our cal, and that was for the 1950s. Last month, September, was the 1960s, which is why we're doing the roundup now. We've done the reveal, the vote, and now the final reveal, and who the winner was. And now 1970s are currently happening at the moment in October, and the cal will end at the end of November, which will be the 1980s. So what I'm talking about is that for each and every decade, we draw inspiration of things that happened that decade. And we'll talk about some that inspired us for the 1960s, and we create something in crochet, or of late, we have had a knitting entry. So, we don't discriminate against our yarny friends. So if you're by Stitchel, by all means, feel free to send in one or both, or one or the other. So at the end of this fun cal, and it has been a lot of fun because so many of us are going down memory lane, reminiscing about the good old days, the days where everything was so much better, in my opinion anyway. We're going to have 2 winners. So there are 2 jars here, a little jar for each winner for each and every decade. So there'll be 4 in here. And in this jar, yes, I did get a better size jar, guys, that the names of every person who's entered for each and every month or decade, and then at the end of that we'll draw 2 digital subscriptions for 12 months to a crochet magazine. So I'll just pop those jars down there for now. So that's just a little bit of fun, just to encourage us along the way. And like I said, everyone's a winner. I always say that, whether you're making something and submitting it, whether you're voting, or whether you're just coming along to cheerlead everybody on. Thank you so much. We really do appreciate it, because after all, it's just about having some yarny fun together. Now, the 1960s were an amazing decade. So many changes, but it also was a bit of a limbo, in my understanding of the decade, of a limbo period. So basically there was a lot of changes in that the music was changing. The bands like the Beatles were coming on the scene. That really influenced a lot of us back then, and also in our crochet, and you will see it in some of the entries. Flower power was everywhere. People were protesting, especially against wars. It was just a time where people said, I found my voice and we're going to speak up. We just don't want this to happen anymore. There was the landing on the moon. I believe that was 1969 from memory. So, there were a lot of things that were influencing all of us. There were many changes happening. There was also, the colors of the time that, people were putting into their clothing and into their homes, home decor. There were so many more appliances that were available to people. TVs were pretty much in every home. People had washing machines. The cars, there were more cars on the road. Which meant women were going out into the workforce more, and it was actually very much encouraged, which was the trend from the 40s, like late 40s and 50s, and it had really become a thing in the 60s. I was born in 1965, so I only remember stories, obviously, but it spilled over into my younger years when I was, 5 and 10 years old. I do remember my mother working. I don't ever remember my mother not working. It was a time where people could travel. There was, the planes and the boats, there was just so much more access to people traveling around the world. So it connected us even more so. It was the beginning of, for example, my family migrated to Australia in the early 60s. Steve's family actually was about 15, 20 years earlier. So people were starting to go out of just being in their own little village, basically. So that broadened the world, but in essence brought us together as well. Medicine was making more advances. So there was a lot happening. It was the start of the very fast-paced life, I think. Now, I've got two books that I want to share with you very quickly before we get started on what we're all here for today, to find out who the winner was for the 1960s. But I do have this great book here, and it's Born in 1965. Now, that's my birth year, obviously, and this is why I have it. And in actual fact, I bought this book about 5 years ago, and I haven't really looked through it, but it does have a couple of things that I was so interested to show you. And it does touch on all the things that we just spoke about, you know, the different things that were happening. But this is predominantly talks about what was happening in Australia. But let's be real, worldwide, very similar things are happening. We're really one people. We're just living in different homes and different parts of the world. But as I was saying earlier, the women were encouraged to work because they were told that there was less work for them at home, because it says here, women's workload at home had been reduced because of devices such as washing machines, vacuum cleaners that actually worked, and they had crisper fabrics to work with. So I'm guessing that means like polyesters and nylons that didn't need ironing. So that was really handy. They actually had refrigerators that worked, electric stoves and jugs and toasters. And they also made their shopping easier because they had access to a car. So I just thought that that was very, very funny. But in essence, it makes sense because I've been raised in a generation where all that was around me. I never thought that it was a thing before that. And then I thought back, remembering that my mum would say how they would hand wash things, you know. They'd have special washing machines that they would turn around, you know, for them to wring out the water from the clothing before they hung it up to dry. So it's funny sometimes that we don't even think of those things unless we've lived through them. Just like our children, I talk about mine now, they don't know what a phone is that you put to your ear other than a mobile phone, for example. They don't know that you can have everything at your, like, access to every information that you need, whereas we had like the Encyclopedia Britannica in all our homes, and every year the salesman would come past and sell us an updated book, you know, so of all the events that happened in the last year. So, you know, I started to relate it to that. So this Cal, for me, I'm not sure what you're getting out of it other than some fun and some yarny fun. It's actually really good, you know, brushing up on history or learning a few things along the way. And in actual fact, you know, reflecting and reminiscing on how life was, and, you know, and what, you know, what we saw and how we see it now. It's just amazing me. It just amazes me. But the fun thing about this book is, and my favorite thing in it, is that it talks about alphabet soup. Now, I don't know about how many of you remember alphabet soup, but I certainly do. It was little tiny noodles, and they were alphabet shapes. And I remember with my sisters, my middle sister, not my younger sister, trying to get the letters around in the broth to make our name and things like that, you know, little words like cat and dog. So that was a really nice little flashback for me. I really enjoyed reading that. But touching on fashion now, very, very quickly, in this book here, this vintage crochet book, so this specifically talks about fashion, crocheted fashion and crocheted home decor and accessories and things like that. This book now reflects very much to me the fact that from the 40s and 50s, the women were going into the workforce, had less time for crocheting and sewing their clothes, and in actual fact, even less time, I believe, unless you had like a grandparent, a grandmother, to pass on, you know, those skills to their daughters or sons, which is exactly what happened to me. And now I hear my mum saying she regrets, for example, not showing me how to do cross stitch. So I am going to make it my mission, God willing, one day when I have grandchildren, to teach them how to crochet and do arts and crafts with them. So back to this book here. Now, I have opened it up and I have read some of it. It's quite a nice read and it is a beautiful book. But I'll just show you the only things that it shows in here about fashion. It has nothing, you know, accessories like bags or hats, no toys, no home decor. I think whatever people had in their homes, for example, blankets or things, carried over from the generation before, like the period before the decade. And then I think in the 70s, we're going to see a huge difference in crochet. So stay tuned for that, guys. That'll be at the end of this month. But I don't know if you remember for last month, but I showed you that the granny square, they used to call it a motif. And once again, it's been very much used to continue with clothing. So there's a dress there, And you're not going to see much more than that. There's a long sleeve dress there. Very, very pretty, don't get me wrong. But not really much anything else. And what was the last one that I've tagged for? Oh, I thought these were beautiful. These collars and cuffs. And there is another page that's got so many beautiful ones. I actually did consider making these, and maybe one day I will pick, but you need like very, very fine thread and little baby hooks, so that's why I didn't go into it. Look at that beautiful photo there. Photos, I should say. So yeah, as I said, that's pretty much the only crochet I could really find in fashion or in decor. Of course, you know, that's not saying that it wasn't around, but that's been with my research, that's what I found. Although I have to say that I do remember growing up in a house full of doilies. So I think doilies have been around forever. I don't think they ever go out of fashion. Even though some people think that, you know, they're old fashioned, I don't think so. And they're everywhere. So, you know, they've been around, like I said, forever. So now let's get back to the job on task. What we're here for today is to find out whose name we're going to pop into this little jar here. But in this one here, I'm ready to put everybody's name. Now, I'll show you what I made in case you weren't here for, you know, the voting and the reveal of all the projects. I made this little bee here, and this represents the beehive hairstyle. He's so cute, right? I absolutely love him. So I'm going to pop him over there so you can keep an eye on us. And I'm going to open the big jar first so we can start putting in the names. I do have here, and I will tell you later who won, but we have 31 votes we got for the 1960s. And it's lovely because I'd say everyone got a vote. And then there is an overall winner though, which is, you know, just part of the fun, guys. So let's reveal who was number one. So if you may recall, it was this gorgeous pouch here, inspired by Flower Power and the Rowan and Martin's show Laugh In. And the person who made this beautiful, beautiful pouch here is our friend Alley Cat. So Alley Cat, here's your name here. Let's fold it up and pop it into our jar. Who knows, I might have to get a bigger jar for after the end of this month, because we had 16 entries for the 1960s. Now, the next one, so number 2, came to us from our friend Jana Kay, and she has the YouTube channel Flourish, Faith and Fibre. So that was number 2. Now, thank you so much, Jana Kay, and there's your name there. Now, if you guys want to hear more details about the makes, how they were made, what pattern was used, please go and revisit the last video, because this video will be forever long otherwise. Now, our next pattern here, or our entry, number 3, this beautiful bag came to us from Kerry P. So thank you so much, Kerry, for your entry, and here is your name. Let's fold it up and pop it into the jar. I love this part. It's just so exciting. Drawing it out will be exciting too, but this is just as exciting. Now, number 4 was our friend Baloo from the Jungle Book. And he came to us from our friend Natasha at Hooks and Stitches. He is so adorable. And here's another view of him as well. There he is, number 4. So thank you, Natasha. Here's your name. Let's fold it up and pop it into the jar. Now, our next entry, so number 5, came to us from our friend KK from K&K Crochet. And of course, she did a bee. Absolutely gorgeous. Love him so much. He's got a friend too. So here you are, KK. There's your name. Let's pop it into the jar. Fold it up nicely. And the next one is a portion of a blanket. So this is only one section for the 1960s, and it comes to us from our friend Bella, our Bella's Crochet Gifts. If you go and see her latest video where she talks about all the cows she's participated in, you'll get to see the whole blanket, because she actually finished it in August. I think that's amazing. And there you are, Bella. Thank you so much. Let's pop you into the jar as well. And now the next blanket, so we had another beautiful blanket, comes to us from our friend Shirley. So pretty. And here is your name, Shirley. Let's pop you into the jar as well. You're all little genies living in the jar. Do you remember that movie, I Love Jeannie? Is that what it was called? I love that show. The next one is another beautiful blanket, and it is the Flower Power blanket. And it comes to us, there it is there, number 8. And there's the little flower motif or square, granny square. Comes to us from our friend Marta. So thank you, Marta, for your entry for the 1960s. Let me pop you into the jar as well. Oh my goodness, look guys, it's actually getting very full. I'm going to have to find a bigger jar, I think. Now the next one comes to us from so this little camel comes to us from our friend Sally over at Nanny Moon's Crochet. Thank you so much, Sally. There's your name there for entering your camel. And now her inspiration was from the movie Lawrence of Arabia. So as you can see, people are drawing inspiration from everywhere. Now this little poodle applique, he is adorable, comes to us from our friend Josephine. And the inspiration was the poodle skirts, and that the poodle appliques were on everything. And also I think the poodle was the most popular dog at the time. There's your name, Josephine. Let's pop you in the jar as well. Whoop. Oh my goodness. Now the next one comes to us from our friend Liza and their pocket toys. And she was inspired by the colours and the toys of the time. So thank you so much, Liza, for sending in your beautiful entry. And there is your name there. And let's pop you in the jar as well. We're nearly there, guys. We're up to number 12. And number 12 is this beautiful, beautiful shawl. And it has the peace symbol on it. And our friend Thea entered that. So Thea, here's your name. And let's pop you into the jar. Number 13, guys. Who will it be? Who made this gorgeous Mary Poppins inspired scarf? As you can see, Mary Poppins is wearing her scarf. So number 13 came to us from our friend Nat. So Nat, thank you so much for your entry. There's your name. And let's pop you into the jar as well. And now we're up to number 14. And number 14 was inspired by the Beatles songs Yellow Submarine. And this comes to us from our lovely friend Bonnie T. And there you go. Bonnie, there's your name. Let's pop you into the jar. And then we have our friend Corinne. She made this beautiful, beautiful turban. I love that brooch. And it is so pretty. Now here's Corinne's name here. And this one, oh my goodness. And this is the knitted entry. And it comes to us from our friend Natalia. Isn't it gorgeous? And here is your name here, Natalia. Now, there it is there. So, drum roll please. The overall winner, other than everyone being a winner for being here, you know that, guys, and every entry was amazing. I know why we only got 31 votes, because it's just too hard to vote. But thank you to all of you that took the time to actually put a number down in the comments. And I love the little blurb that you were all putting with it. A lot of you was just bringing back memories from the 1960s. I thought it was awesome. So the overall winner is number 16, which is this beautiful knitted top by Natalia. So congratulations, Natalia. I only popped your name on top so I knew that I'd have to take it out again. And here it is here, guys. So Natalia, you're going to be going into this little jar here. So there are 2 entries in there now. So let's seal that off. Let's seal this one off. And as I said, guys, I think I might be able to squish the entries in for next month, but I'm going to have to get something bigger when it's time to shake it around, whereas this one, we can shake it around. So that's it. Oh my goodness. So all that's left to do now is congratulate Natalia, and now we have to think about our 1970 entries. And let me tell you, the 1970s, there was an abundance of inspiration, as we know, but also an abundance of crochet, because he had well and truly made a comeback. I think we all know that. There were mandala tops and things everywhere. Now, I actually think I have narrowed it down to the one thing that I want to make. So I'm going to get started. We do have 20 more days, because today's the 11th of October 2024 and entries close on the 31st of October 2024, midnight Sydney, Australia time. Now, I have already received a few entries. It's amazing that people have been so keen to get started. It is awesome. In actual fact, I received another one this morning, so I was very excited to get that one. So please send them to me via email. Just put 1970s in the subject so it's easy for me to find. If you don't mind, that would be wonderful. And that's it. Thank you so much, each and every one of you, for hanging out with us again today. As I said, if you haven't seen the video prior to this one, go and have a little look, because we talk about each and every pattern that you saw today, or I should say entry that you saw today, in detail. And it is a lot of fun to know what people used in case you've put it on your crochet to-do list. I know there are some things in there that I certainly have. And as we said, if you have a knitted entry, we're not going to discriminate. We'll say thank you very much. And that's it for now, guys. I hope you're all keeping well. And until I see you all very, very soon, take care, everybody. Bye-bye for now.